Hi, this is Steven from Steven's Archery Journey, and today I have a very special bow review for you. We will be reviewing the Mariner Spring Autumn 1 bamboo bow. Mariner is a bowyer in China who specializes in mostly glass laminated bows. The Spring Autumn line is one of the only natural bow lines that he has. This particular bow is the 32-inch max draw from the belly. It's a little bit longer than a typical 32-inch long max draw bow, mainly because there is no glass lamination to hold the shape, so the bow has to be just a little bit longer to accommodate the draw length. Like most Mariner bows, this bow has a beautiful finish. There are fewer finishing options than his typical laminated bows just because there's no glass lamination here. It's only bamboo and wood. So you're pretty much stuck with either the plain bamboo, sort of the yellow dried out bamboo color, or you can do basic paint jobs. You cannot do like fancy veneers or stickers or anything like that. It is also available in a takedown variant, but that limits the draw weight to around, I believe, 45 pounds at 28 inches. Typical Mariner handle and ray skin arrow pass. Very beautiful overall. I would also like to draw attention to this string. It is not the stock Mariner string. This string was actually made for me by Krankurs out of the Pacific Northwest Asiatic community. He makes very nice looking strings, and I worked with him to make a color matching string for this bow because the default was the typical Mariner red and white. So kudos to him on a job very well done, color matching to the colors that I had the bow painted in. So let's give a quick demonstration on just how narrow the arrow pass is on this bow, because that's one of my favorite things about it. Typical Mariner fashion, 21.50 millimeters, which is fairly thin. Next, we're going to measure the actual draw weight of the bow at 28 inches and 32 inches. This is a very good habit in general because occasionally you'll buy a bow and it's mislabeled, or maybe you buy it used and the weight has changed over time. So first let's draw to 28. There we're getting just under 40 pounds. Now let's clear it out and draw it again to 32. And again, I'm measuring from the back. Mariner technically measures from the belly, but this is where I draw to. And there we're right around 48 pounds. To describe a few of the specifications of the Mariner Spring Autumn 1 bamboo, the string length is 61.50 inches, which for this bow, because you have, the string goes literally all the way to the edge of the bow, that's pretty much the braced bow length as well. This particular Spring Autumn 1 is 50 pounds at 32 inches. 32 inches from the belly is considered the max draw length. I draw at 32 from the back, so I get a few pounds less than that, but not by much. The draw profile is closer to probably an English longbow than the typical Asiatic recurve. One of my favorite things about this bow is it just has a different feeling compared to a typical glass laminated bow. It's hard to describe, but it feels softer in the hand and a little bit closer to nature. A little bit softer in the draw profile. There is a little bit more hand shock compared to a glass laminated bow. It's not too bad for me because I use fiberglass bows all the time that are even worse. If you're looking for absolute maximum, you know, bells and whistles, modern everything, zero hand shock, a 45-inch string that can draw to 35 inches, this is not your bow. This bow is more elemental than that. It's really just about stick and string and just having fun and sending some arrows. There is a slightly longer one that will do 33 inches, but the bow gets about 6 inches longer. That's the Spring Autumn 2. They also have a Spring Autumn 3 that's a slightly different shape. It's more of an Assyrian D shape. And that one goes all the way out to, I think, somewhere between 34 and 36 inches, but gets insanely long, even longer than a Manchu bow. So this is kind of a good compromise between draw length and the length of the bow not getting extreme. Just keep in mind that it will not draw past 32 inches. One of my favorite ways to use this bow is with some bamboo arrows. These are just 32-inch ammo length, cheap Tonkin bamboo arrows. You know, sort of disposable, just to beat around on out here in the woods in 90-degree weather. But, for example, I like to use a leather thumb ring, or maybe an antler or a horn thumb ring instead of metal, just to go with the natural theme. And just shoot. If I could sum this bow up in one sentence, it's you just shoot. You're not worrying about glass lamination, this, see that. Does it draw to 87 inches or to 9,000 pounds? Because this never will do that. You're just taking a stick and slinging other sticks with it. That is my favorite thing about this bow. So let's talk about the main downsides of the bow. Really just the speed of the bow. You know, it's not a speed demon. You're pretty much never going to see 170 FPS with this, but that's really not the point. But the speeds are still respectable. They're in, you know, there's a little hand shock, but as long as you stay away from min GPP, so for this particular Spring Autumn one is 10, maybe go up to 11 or 12, you'll eliminate a lot of that. The length of the bow, maybe, you know, if you're a shorter person, it's kind of intimidating to have a greater than 60-inch bow just to draw to 32 inches. It's not as big of a problem for me being taller, but had I gone with, let's say, the Spring Autumn 2, I might have actually done it in a takedown for easier transportation. And that's probably it for me. Other than that, I love everything else about it. Again, it's an ambidextrous bow, no shelf. So previously in the video, I've been shooting right-handed. Now I'm going to shoot left-handed. And I can do that with this bow. No problem landing arrows from 30 meters all the way out to 60 meters. The furthest I can do is about 70 here, but I feel like I could probably do 80 if I really focused You just have to get used to aiming a little higher. Otherwise, I just love to pull this bow out and get back to nature. That is sort of a core tenet of my personal archery journey. So this bow resonates with me a little bit more than it might some other people. Just love to shoot this bow. I used to say that the Mariner weight was one of the worst things, but honestly, some other places like Alley Bow and AF Archery are getting just as bad, whereas they used to ship in under a month or two at worst. They've been taking 3 or 4 months. And Mariner's been running under 3 months. So, not all bad. I almost forgot to mention one of the main things that sort of differs about this bow versus the typical glass laminated bow. And that is that since it is purely bamboo and wood and there is no glass to maintain the shape, or for example on a horned bow, no horn to help maintain the shape, these bows can develop set or string follow, whatever term you want to use, where the draw length will, or the draw weight will go down because the actual limbs are sort of deforming to the shape of the pull of the string. That is a thing. You just sort of have to just have common sense, you know, unstring the bow when you're not using it, let it rest. You know, probably don't use it in super extremes. You probably don't want to have it out in a monsoon or in 110 degree, 100% humidity weather and things like that. I have not had that problem yet. I have not used the bow through a whole summer, so I could probably report back on how that's going closer to the end of the year. But again, like all things, it's just a trade-off of a fully natural bow. It's the reason why they used, you know, horn on composite bows, because otherwise the bow would have a tendency of deforming. All that aside, love this bow. Wish I could shoot it every day if time allowed and life allowed. This has been the Mariner Spring Autumn 1 wood and bamboo bow from Mariner. This is Steven's Archery Journey. We'll catch you next time.